From KHOU-TV Houston, the spirit of Texas, this is 11 News at 5.
Houston plays host to some unusual conventions, and that's especially true for a group meeting near the Astrodome this week. They're parachutists from around the world, and today they heard an extraordinary war story. 11 News reporter Doug Miller was there.
Thrill seekers who jump out of airplanes just for fun are hard to impress, but a bunch of them were today.
Sure. You talk about nostalgia.
Former President Bush slipped into a parachute today before a cheering crowd of skydivers. Perhaps only a convention of skydivers would know George Bush's special place in parachuting history. One morning during the Second World War, Bush piloted an Avenger bomber off the deck of the USS San Jacinto. In a bombing run similar to this, his plane was hit by enemy fire, and he had to parachute out of his falling aircraft.
I pulled the ripcord too early, and so I hit my head on the horizontal stabilizer, the tail of the airplane, kind of like a big raspberry from sliding in baseball.
These parachutists convening in Houston heard the war story firsthand. Bush recalled how he paddled a life raft away from a Japanese-held island, recalled what was going through his mind.
They have a marvelous expression amongst parachutists, but I can't repeat it because it's got one four-letter word beginning with S, and Barbara said, if you say that, I'm through, so I'm not going to say it, but yeah, I was scared.
Scared and soaking wet, young Ensign George Bush was fished out of the water. The future president would survive thanks to his parachute.
Presented with pride by the Parachute Industry Association.
Today, skydivers honored Bush as the only president who ever made a parachute jump. All of this apparently looks like fun to former President Bush. He says he'd like to try it again someday, this time just for fun. Doug Miller, 11 News.
You deserve an honor.
Good influence there by Mrs. Bush.
Woman who's ruling.
On her part.
That is our news. Thanks for joining us.
We will see you again in half an hour.
This is KPRC-TV Houston. Now, live from Channel 2. Where local news comes first. This is News 2 Houston at 6 o'clock.
And finally tonight, it's a trip back in time for President George Bush.
He was presented with a parachute today at the Sheraton Astrodome. Now, this is from the very same production run as the parachute that saved his life back in 1944. That's when his plane was shot down over the Pacific during World War II. Let's hear it for soft landings. And that's our news. Thank you for watching.
We'll see you back here at 10 for the night games.
See you then.
You're watching Channel 13 Eyewitness News. Live with the entire Eyewitness News team. This is Channel 13 Eyewitness News. We care about Texas.
Well, some new honors for a former U.S. president as members of the parachute industry have descended on Houston. Former President George Bush was a surprise guest today at the opening of the International Parachute Symposium. Bush is the only president to have made a parachute jump, bailing out of a crippled torpedo bomber during World War II. He credits the hard work of parachute makers with saving his life.
Thank everybody involved in the parachute industry, particularly those back then, because I wouldn't be here.
The association then presented the former president with a chute identical to the one that he wore in the South Pacific back in 1944. And they say that one is guaranteed to work, too.
Hope he doesn't have to use it.
Right.
And now, Houston's most comprehensive primetime news hour. This is Fox News at 9 with Fran Fawcett, Mike Barajas, Sports Director Mark Berman, and meteorologist Robert Smith.
A decorated World War II hero, former President George Bush is inducted into an unusual club. Mr. Bush today put on a parachute like the one that saved his life when he was forced to bail out of his fighter plane over the Pacific in 1944. He was being inducted into the Caterpillar Club, folks who have been saved by parachutes. That ceremony marked the opening of the Parachute Industry's International Symposium.
One club I really don't want to join.